Picked up some interesting research on this next record on my fantasy playlist, July 24th, 1994. This was a big MTV hit that summer. MTV played the heck out of this video. I believe VH1 did too. Radio hit as well. John Cougar Mellencamp, a comeback record by him, by the way, and Michelle Ndegeocello. I can't pronounce her last name. Ndegeocello. I looked up how to pronounce her name on YouTube, and I probably mangled it. But anyway, they did a version of Wild Night. Their version of Wild Night was an even bigger hit than the version put out by Van Morrison. The original version of Wild Night came out in 1971. It was off the album called Tupelo Honey by Van Morrison. And the song went to number 28 on Billboard's Hot 100, thinking about around the spring and summer of 1971, for Van Morrison back in the 70s. That song produced by Ted Templeman. Ted Templeman, who was a member of Harper's Bazaar, remember the song Feeling Groovy? And they did a version of, I believe it was the Chattanooga Choo Choo. And later on, Ted Templeman produced an album by Montrose heavy metal band. Sammy Hagar was one of the singers in that band. And a little bit later than that, Ted Templeman produced 6 albums by Van Halen, including their debut album. But anyway, let's move on from 1971, 23 years later to 1994, to this John Cougar Mellencamp and Ndegeocello version of Wild Night. Now here's the deal. This album was called Dance Crazy, or Dance Naked rather. Well, I guess it could have been called Dance Crazy, but Dance Naked by John Cougar Mellencamp. Album we released in 1994. Now here's the thing about this album. See, what it was, the record companies were coming down on John Cougar Mellencamp. They were telling him, his record company was coming down on him. They told him that his previous album, which was called Human Wheels, which came out in 1993, I believe, did not fit the format, whatever that means. And John Cougar Mellencamp was like, well, none of my songs fit the format. But then he set about to purposely write some radio-friendly songs. And he did this in a span of 14 days. He did all this in 14 days, wrote and recorded some songs, some radio-friendly songs at his own recording studio in Belmont, Indiana. Biggest hit off the album, Dance Naked. It sounds like a frat album. I mean, it'd be like if a bunch of fraternity guys got together and put out an album of music. They would probably been called that. But it might have been just kind of a swipe at the record companies, maybe, the title of the album. But anyway, from Dance Naked, the biggest hit off of that, Wild Night by John Cougar Mellencamp and Michelle Ndegeocello. I know I mangled her last name, and I apologize. God, that was such a hard name to pronounce. You gotta give me credit for trying, though. Fantasy playlist of July 24th, 1994. Wild Night at number 8.